When visitors come to the site, when they come into the administration block, they literally step back in time. The wood panelling, light fittings, doors, many items of furniture once held pride of place on the White Line steamer, the Olympic. It was a 4,456 ton ship.
That's a photograph of what was the boardroom. We were always interested in other factories, other businesses who had acquired material from the Olympic when it was broken up back in the 30s. And that is a cement works down in Clitheroe in Lancashire. And you can see some of the Olympic stuff in there.
There's a pub in Alnwick called the Swan. Probably the two biggest places where the fittings went to. The rest all went to private homes. There's lots of private homes with the fittings in.
And they fitted all of the offices out with it, and they even brought a toilet from the Olympic ship. But it didn't have any cracks in or anything. And it was all wooden panels. There was a lot of gold leaf.
The site also had, in the gents' toilets, they're not there anymore and you can't see where they've been. There were 2 bathrooms in there. There were 2 doors off the ship on there.
The staircase down into the first class restaurant, I think. It's classed as the works canteen.
There used to be a sprung wooden dance floor in here, which came from the ship.
Just an amazing place to work in, and for 25 years no one really appreciated what we had.
It was just there. Nobody ever bothered about it very much till the Titanic Association.
And it wasn't until the Americans came knocking on the door and said, please can we have a look at it, and started to tell us the story, that we started to take an interest in it and research it and do a lot more.
We'd been involved with the Titanic Association, and they'd been to Haltwhistle. We were doing this tour, going to Alnwick, and they invited us to go to Alnwick, and we went up there, had a meal with them, and they presented David and me with a plaque from the Titanic Association, which was very nice. They were lovely people.
They were tracing what was in the factory at Haltwhistle to the areas on the ships from the old photographs that they had. Sometime in the 80s, a chap turned up out of the blue and he introduced himself as Father Peroni from San Diego. He was telling me that when he was younger, his words not mine, and the kids were all out playing ball, and I was inside building a scale model of the Titanic using matchsticks. We took him across and showed him the Olympic Hall, which was the works canteen, and then went up the stairs into the offices, and he just stood there in awe. 3 hours later, he was still taking photographs. He was so thankful for the opportunity we'd given him. There was a film called The Titanic. I think a chap called James Cameron was the producer, and some of his research team came to the site and spent a lot of time taking measurements and looking at all of the materials.
And we had, of course, our Kate Winslet door as you went into the director's dining room. There was not the outside door, but the inner one. There was a brief glimpse of a door which was its twin on the film Titanic, and we christened it the Kate Winslet door because she goes through the doorway. My
company was working for AkzoNobel on the paintwork site, and then I got word from them that they were actually going to close the site, and they were putting the site up for sale. I decided to put a bid in, and I was successful in buying the site. And then I wanted to use the site as an industrial estate, and I called it Hadrian Enterprise Park, which is what it's called today, I think. As regards to the Olympic Hall, I wanted to use that as a visitor centre. I did what they call a feasibility study. I hired a company to look at the site, look at the Olympic site, and say, can I make this into a business? And they come back and said it was impossible. You wouldn't get the footfall, which means you couldn't get the people through it to make a profit. And that office block had to make me money because that's where I got it from. That's where I got my income from. As opposed to the paintworks, they got the money from the paint. So that if they want to show somebody around, they just showed somebody around. But when I took it on, I had to make money from that build, and it wasn't making money. Quite the opposite, of course, it was costing us money. So the only way I could keep an income coming was auction the fittings off. And the people in Holtwhistle, maybe your mums and dads, would think that was an awful thing for me to do. And I got a little bit of bad press for that. But I would have much preferred them to stop where they were. I had a call from a county councillor and from the Northern Heritage guys asked us if I would stop the auction. So I showed them around, they were very impressed. And they said, well, what can we do? I says, well, I'm willing to gift you the building, but I need half of what the auctioneer said they could bring from the site. The auctioneer said they could realise upwards of £500,000, which is an awful lot of money. I says, if you give me £250,000, if you can raise that money, you can have the building and you can do with it what you want, and I'll be very pleased about that. Unfortunately, neither the council nor the Heritage come back to me. And I held that auction over 2 days in 2004.
Under all this chipboard, there are decking boards, timbers that came from the ship. Instead of using plywood or plasterboard and stuff, there was decking, loads of decking. You know, it's 5 inches wide and 4 inches thick, so it makes beautiful stud walls. And then you just nailed the panel into it. Pipe coving from the ship. It was like the ducting to hide the pipes behind. The ones that are left are the wooden ones. Yeah. But when they were all fitted, you couldn't tell the difference between the wood, the brass or the alloy. That's a bit of ship. Stud work. This is teak parking flooring that came from the ship. Yeah. Underneath here, you've got there. That's deck board off the ship. The glass dome that was in there, which everybody said came from there, didn't. The man from Ocean Liner Auctions down at Southampton, he's wrote the book because he's well up on the Titanic and everything like that. He took one look at that, checked it, and he says, that came from the Orca. It was sold off, the dome, and the lady that bought it, but she was building a house in Spain, and she bought it to put in the house. Got it lifted out by crane, as you can see on there, parked on the roadway, and then the crane went, and everybody else that was helping went. I came back from taking the pictures, and I said, well, there you are, Trevor. And it was exactly the same when it was time to load it onto the lorry. I'd loaded lorries with pallets of paint from here, but I didn't fancy lifting this big lump of glass.
But the staircase is still from the ship.
Some timber work supporting it.
Before I left work, we decided that the kitchens in the Olympic Hall needed refurbishing. We decided that we should do sort of a replica of the Olympic. It was really very, very smart. We had a new kitchen and then the hall, and that was finished the year I left work, which was 1995, after 40 years. 40 lovely years, actually.